Prost versus Senna, perhaps the most famous, notorious rivalry in the history of Formula One. 20 years after the death of Ayrton Senna at Imola, his arch-opponent has been talking about his relationship with the charismatic Brazilian, the bitterness, the suspicion and mistrust, and ultimately the friendship. Prost on Senna.
There is a star that lights the road. I'll take this ride and just drive. I wanna be the only one to make it to the light. I'll take it to the edge of ride. But maybe I could be the one right into the setting sun tonight. Just drive.
1988 was when the rivalry started in earnest. Ayrton Senna had proved his ability with 6 victories and a number of forceful drives for Lotus, and was ready to take his place in a team that could challenge for the title. At McLaren, Alain Prost had already been champion twice, and after a disappointing 1987, the team was strong again and were looking for a teammate for Prost. Most wanted Nelson Piquet, but Prost had other ideas.
I said, why Nelson? If you want to make a strong team, take the best. Take the youngest, take the one for the future. Take Ayrton. And they all looked at me. I said, why do you want to take Ayrton? I said, for the interest of the team, take Ayrton. Ask them if it's not true, it's take Ayrton. And they were absolutely, it's unbelievable. And then we got on like this and spoke to Ron and said, no, I have no problem. It would have been much easier for me to take Nelson.
Yes.
But I really think, and I don't regret at all this kind of thing.
You don't?
No, not at all. Because again, as I said before, you cannot regret decision that you think it's the best. I always thought about the general interest of the team. McLaren was my family. They were all friends, and I wanted to have I never had a problem with the teammates before, the same way than Ayrton, obviously. So you cannot. And yes, without Ayrton, it would have been maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 more championships. It's possible. My life would have been different. Yes, maybe a little bit, but at the time, not now. Mm. And with the history, with what we have made, and we made Formula One going in a different level, and we had a human story. And
Well, what did you make of Ayrton when he first arrived at the team in '88? He sort of changed the dynamics.
The team went into a different dimension, especially with Honda and with Ayrton. It was a different attitude of inside the team, between the let's say the two teams. Before we only had one team.
So through the 1988 campaign, Senna was strengthening his team position on and off the track. To Prost, he was seeming to cultivate the preferential support of engine supplier Honda. And on the track, he was starting to show that he would stop at nothing to deny his teammate victory.
Stop sometimes, and remember Portugal race, a few things. It was quite.
Well, Portugal nearly put you into the wall, didn't it?
Yeah, it was really close, and. But that was good, and we had a nice fight.
So even after that Estoril incident, you weren't thinking, whoa, this is going to be tough to manage, and...
It was, let's say it was on the limit. It was on the limit. And in November, we had Mr. Kawamoto, president of Honda, came to Switzerland, and we had a dinner. And I had a very, very strange discussion, because I said, I feel that Honda is really going in favor of Ayrton. And as a driver, when you're in a team like this, especially with Ayrton, which is one of the best I've been with, and it is very difficult. And he said to me, yes, I know. We have a new generation of, engineers, mechanics, and they like Ayrton. They like the panache of Ayrton, and for sure they are more behind. I said, can you can you make something different? Because for me, it's very difficult. We had a very, very nice discussion. I was very confident after this dinner. And 89 was absolutely a disaster.
Senna would enter the 1989 season as world champion, having clinched the title with his 8th victory of the season, a brilliant drive in Japan, home Grand Prix of Honda. He was a deserved champion, but Senna's additional talent for politics and positioning was starting to get to Prost.
Psychology of a racing driver is a big part of his performance. I would say 70–80%. It's very subjective, but it's a big part. You know, I remember very well once I've seen the engines coming, you know, and was written on the engine special for Ayrton, you know, things like this. What does that mean? Is the engine better, or maybe it's exactly the same, or I don't know. But you don't want to see that. You want to have equal treatment, and inside the team it started to be a problem. It was only psychology, you know. But for me, I did not feel very well, you know, and I felt a big difference between 89 and 88.
Matters came to a head in only the 3rd race of the 1989 campaign. Gerhard Berger's fiery accident forced a restart to the San Marino Grand Prix. Prost and Senna on the front row had an agreement not to challenge each other through the first corner, an agreement that Senna ignored for the restart.
I saw him on the left and with plenty of space, and said, okay, I take the normal line just to exit better, and then he overtook me. Okay. And then we went to Pembrey for testing, and that's where we started the problem. Because Ron and with Joe Ramirez, we went into a small bus and we had discussion with Ayrton. And only Ron talked to I did not talk, and just listening. He said, Ron, what happened? You had an agreement? When we had the agreement, Ron was there. John Hogan from Marlboro was there. Cannot say that was. He said, yes, we had an agreement for the first start, not for the second start. Started like this, said, okay, that's not a problem. But then more important, he said, it's not me, it's Alain who overtook me. He said, Ayrton, there's 700 million of people, you know, they can watch the thing, and then it took, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes before he has accepted that, and he started to cry. You know? I can't say that because now he's not there anymore. But my mistake, I went to a French journalist, a friend of mine, Johnny Rive. He had heard a few things. I told him the story, but I said, please, don't tell anything. You know, at this time we could still be a little bit off sometimes. And he has written that in the newspaper. And Ayrton from this day was so upset that he saw somebody told him that it was in the newspaper that he never wanted to talk anymore. But that was only because of this reason, you know. And I understood that Ayrton's personality was different, you know. I cannot say, well, he was different, but he wanted to.
Was that the point that you were starting to think that his self-belief was, well, inappropriate for Formula One?
He had his own rules, for sure.
Yeah.
His own perception of a thing. Obviously, he wanted to beat me. That was the first target. That was his goal. That was myself. You know, obviously winning a championship, but really he knew that beating me he would have been world champion. But he had his rules.
The internal battle for the title at McLaren had descended into bitterness, and Prost and Senna were now on a collision course for the first of 2 infamous title deciders. Midway through the 1989 season, the relationship between Alain Prost and Ayrton Senna at McLaren had broken down entirely. Prost had announced his intention to drive for Ferrari the next season, but at Suzuka he could still clinch the title. Their controversial coming together at the chicane suggested guilt on both sides. Senna went on to win the race, but was disqualified for a push start and missing the chicane. Perhaps his biggest mistake that day was misjudging the determined mood of Alain Prost.
I'm not going to open the door anymore. You know, I mean, I prefer to lose the championship, you know, but I'm not going to. And then it was going so fast behind that, I mean, I did not see him. I was looking at the mirror, it was quite far, and then when I turned and I look at him, I could not believe that he was there. But obviously, I did not change, and I did not do another turn. I did not change. I've done exactly what I told them I was going to do, you know. But honestly, I'm very disappointed about this race. You know why? Because I did not win it. Because I could have won it easy. You know, when you have a fight like this, there's a lot of people around the drivers. Was much more around himself than myself. And in fact, Ayrton was very, very strong in his head. Very, very strong, unbelievable, but also very weak in terms of being influenced, you know. And then we started something that we could not control. And until the point where if you go to 1990, 1 year after, you can see that he did not forget.
Indeed, 1990 at Suzuka had the same ingredients. Prost now for Ferrari, but Senna poised for the title for McLaren. Senna aggrieved that the pole position he had claimed seemed to be on the wrong side of the circuit, and still bitter about the manner in which the man alongside him on the front row had claimed the title the year before. He cynically decided that a collision would make him champion this time.
So when you were sitting there on the front row of the grid at Suzuka in 90,
Yep.
with Ayrton alongside and the whole scenario so identical to the year before, were you anticipating the possibility of something like this happening?
Not at all. To do what happened, you have to stay flat. And to stay flat, it is something that you cannot imagine in the brain of a racing driver.
Did you ever have a conversation with him about exactly what happened that day?
No.
Even in the more civilized times that would have come?
No, never. No, we had a lot of discussion after I retired in 93, a lot, about very, very different things, but honestly, never about what happened when we were together.
It was always taboo.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
No. Because but that was good. That was the good thing, because how was Ayrton exactly before Formula One? How was he? How he was when he was in Formula One, when he was competing against me, and how he was the day after I retired.
Yes.
That was, that was easy to show and to explain, and then you understand everything, and all the small things that we are talking about, you understand everything, and that is why I cannot go against Ayrton. I will never say, you know, bad things. Better to explain a few things, at least to understand how he was and why he was like this, and what I could feel.
The story moves on to 1993, Prost taking the title in a dominant year with Williams. But the news of the impending arrival of Ayrton Senna as a teammate rather dampens the mood.
When I signed a contract with Frank and Renault, I said, okay, again, never asked in my whole career being a number one in a team. Never had a contract with being number one. Never had any advantage. The only thing I asked you, that was in January or December the year before, please, I want to fight against Ayrton, no problem, but not in the same car, not in the same team. I want to do everything, the work and everything, and then himself to get the result. So he said, no problem, we understand that very well. And then I had a position where I had a 2-year contract. And then Frank came into during period of July. He called me and said, can I see you? So he came to my house and trying to explain that he had pressure from Renault, that he wanted to have Ayrton. He said, please, you know, we have a contract. We have a contract, and you know why we have a contract, you know. If you ask me that, can you imagine? I mean, for me, there's no way, you know, I cannot accept. So it's going on like this, and I felt more and more pressure